Let's go to Washington because the House set to meet once again today in hopes of electing the next speaker. Joining us right now, Punchbowl's news co-founder, Jake Sherman. He's also an NBC News political contributor. Jake, tell us about where the soap opera stands. We were talking about handicapping, the over-under. What happens here?
Soap opera is a generous way to put this, Andrew. It's more of a nightmare or a horror film. Mike Johnson, congressman from Louisiana, conservative Republican congressman from Louisiana, got the nod late last night in the Capitol to be the new Republican nominee for Speaker. He was the second, Andrew, nominee in one day. Tom Emmer tried to get it, had to drop out 4.5 hours later, 4 hours and 10 minutes later, to be precise. Johnson has a good chance. Republicans are tired. They've now wasted 22 days, messing around and trying to throw food at each other, trying to get a speaker. But there are huge hurdles here. Number one, he has to get past the floor vote. I believe he will win, Mike Johnson. But once he gets to the other side, I mean, this is a very inexperienced lawmaker who has been at the lower tier of House Republican leadership, doesn't raise a lot of money, has never been in a serious bipartisan negotiation, does not have the experience many would hope for going into the leadership, but he does have this. Republicans are rallying around him, and I think, famous last words, I think he will be elected this morning, or this afternoon, rather.
You think he will be?
I do. I think listen, it's very difficult to get 217 on the floor. 3 or 4 people could stop your chances, could halt it in its tracks. But I can't overstate, Andrew, how tired people are, how angry people are. And it looks like Republicans are rallying to his side. If you look, conservatives are going to be on his side 100%. And then you look at moderates, Mike Lawler of New York, the moderate Republican lawmaker who's, I would say, a barometer for the middle of the conference. He is in favor of Johnson and says he will vote for him. So
how will he govern, or how will he oversee this cast of characters that seem to be very divided?
He's very conservative. He doesn't believe in giving an inch to Democrats, and he will gain internally in the conference politically from holding that position. So you shouldn't expect anything less than a government shutdown in whatever that would be, 30 days, 25 days. He will have to hold tight. He might get a little bit of a grace period here, but this is somebody who has been among the most conservative members of the House Republican Conference over the last several years. And on top of that, chair of the most conservative caucus, has been in the leadership. But I mean, listen, you should expect that Steve Scalise, the number 2, who lost his role just a couple weeks ago, will gain. He's going to, 2 Louisianans at the top of the House Republican leadership is an interesting dynamic. We've never seen anything like that before. And Andrew, I just want to make one more point. Republicans have never been in a worse position than they are now internally. They are just divided. They're angry at each other, and they're going to have to get back on track. And part of that will be raising lots of money. Mike Johnson's not a big fundraiser like Kevin McCarthy. He's going to have to come up your way to New York and shake the can a little bit to get some money for the Republicans.
Right. So, but how does that work then? And is the expectation, therefore, that we're going to have a very divided House for a very long time? Not to say that it hasn't been divided already, but that the entire tenor shifts?
It's going to be very divided. I mean, listen, every new speaker gets some sort of a grace period, but this is somebody who believes in everything that Jim Jordan believed. And if you thought Jim Jordan was far to the right, Mike Johnson is just as far to the right. He's just not as demonizable, if that's a word, and he's a lot lesser known. So all of those things together both hurts and helps Republicans. Helps them in the sense that they have a speaker, hurts them in the sense that they are going to be entering incredibly difficult legislative battles with a newbie, a completely untested leader at the wheel.
Yesterday, I think, Jake, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, 44 others, and 43 were for McCarthy, I think. And then it was floated. Is there such a thing as an assistant speaker of the House? What does that even, did they just come up with that? And I'm talking about the idea of Kevin McCarthy going back with Jim Jordan as an assistant speaker. And that was floated. What's that?
It wouldn't happen. It doesn't stand a chance. Democrats have had an assistant speaker in the past. It's effectively a way to put somebody in a role to make them or some constituency happy.
Yeah.
It's not real. Jordan's, by the way, McCarthy supporters, a huge chunk of them, would never in a million years go for elevating Jordan and rewarding, in their estimation, his behavior over the last couple of months and rewarding him for losing the speaker election and not being able to get the support. Just simply wouldn't happen. And listen, McCarthy had
would Jordan even want this job? I mean, if it's not a real position, is Jordan on board with this too?
I think he would be on board because it would elevate him. But remember, Becky, Jim Jordan is one of the most powerful members of Congress. Hard stop, even at the Judiciary Committee, which he chairs. He has a $25 million budget, incredibly powerful. But listen, I will say this about Kevin McCarthy. He had 8 detractors a couple weeks ago. He probably has 15 to 20 now. I think that has ballooned. I think people are ready to move on from McCarthy. And quite frankly, I think McCarthy is ready to move on from the House of Representatives, which I expect he will do in the next couple of months.
How do you do this, though, if you don't have somebody representing each side? I mean, a joint power sharing agreement between the Republicans. If you don't do it between Republicans, you're going to have to do it between Republicans and Democrats. There's nobody who's going to be able to get enough to go through.
Well, I do think Mike Johnson could get 217 votes today. I do. I think Democrats.
What if he doesn't? What if he doesn't, Jake? Then they won't go. Is the McHenry thing still viable, or then are we back to the McCarthy?
No,
Jordan?
If this is the last gasp, Joe. If he doesn't make it here today, Mike Johnson, I would imagine Patrick McHenry will be the Speaker pro permanent, maybe by the end of this week. They're not going to mess around with this anymore. They've wasted too much time. If Johnson doesn't make it, McHenry will be the Speaker. Hard stop. They're not going to go back to McCarthy.